A standard computing function is to serve content that can be read in a web browser via what is called a LAMP stack. That's a combination of the Linux operating system, a web server, a database, and a programming language. LAMP is an acronym where L stands for Linux, the operating system, A is for Apache, the web server, M is for MySQL, the database, and P is for PHP, the programming language, although it might also be Perl or Python. The operating system manages the data communicating with the web server and database server. These components then use PHP scripting to interact with client devices. Since the LAMP stack was demonstrated in 1998, times have changed. There are now several different alternative applications that can carry out the functions of a LAMP stack. The example we will install still uses Linux as the operating system, Nginx replaces Apache, SQLite replaces MySQL, and PHP is still hanging in there. With this technology stack, we're going to be able to browse web pages from our very own server installed on a Raspberry Pi. In practical terms, this can form part of a wide range of different projects. Just saying. We'll start assuming that we've installed and updated our operating system and configured our Pi so that it knows what the time is and where it's located. If you're looking for guidance on how to do that, check out the video in the link. I should mention at this point that commands that are used in this video are all noted in the description. Our first job will be to install Nginx and PHP at the same time, and then lastly SQLite. Let's get started from the command line using sudo apt-get install. This will kick off the installation of the programs and their dependencies. Agree to continue and the installation will proceed. Nginx is obviously the name of the Nginx web server, and php-fpm is for PHP. Nginx is a stable, high-performance web server with a very low consumption of resources, perfect for the Raspberry Pi. php-fpm allows PHP to run as an isolated service. Once the installation is finished, we need to edit the default file that will get displayed as a web page if none is specified. What we want to do is to include the option to redirect to an index.php file. To do this, we will edit the default file with the nano editor. So type in sudo nano and the path to the file. Then, in the editor, we edit the index file that looks a bit like this, and change it so that it recognizes an index.php file. Now we want to edit the portion of the file that will handle all requests for all pages that end in .php. We're going to edit the section of the file that looks like this by uncommenting the appropriate lines like so. To exit out of the editor, press Ctrl X and then agree to save the file. Nginx has its default web page location at /var/www/html on Raspberry Pi OS. We are going to change the ownership and permissions of that folder by executing the sudo chown and then sudo chmod commands as you see on the screen. This is necessary to let the Pi user edit the files in that location easily. Now let's create a suitable index.php test file with the following command. That creates the file in the right directory with content which will show you information about PHP. Now we can restart the Nginx service so that the changes we have made can take effect. Lastly, type the IP address of our Pi in a browser to test. Something like the following should be displayed. Check it out, that is totally a web page. Before you get too excited, quickly take a note of the version of PHP that is being used. Now we're going to install our SQLite database. SQLite is incredibly easy to install. Use the version number of PHP that we just set up to install the correct PHP SQLite driver using sudo apt-get install command again. And that's it. That's too easy, right? I'm planning to make a series of database videos. I've got the first part ready, but I can't think of a sequel. The But seriously folks, it's useful to play with some examples of setting up and manipulating database information just to get a feel for how it all works behind the scenes. Look out for that in a following video. But for now, take a moment to congratulate yourself on installing a LAMP stack that you can use to make information available on a network.